All right, I just started recording. Okay, so um, Alex, thank you for giving us the time to, interview you for our class. And so first, briefly, I was wondering if you can introduce yourself very
Yeah,
briefly.
so I'm the co-founder and CEO of River.com, River Financial. We're a Bitcoin brokerage. We provide Bitcoin and brokerage services for the clients in the United States. We're currently in 31 states around the country. We're regulated state by state, so we're working on expanding out to additional states over the next year. And our goal is to be the best place to buy and sell Bitcoin and provide Bitcoin financial services down the road as it continues to grow in its role as a money of the world. We tend to focus on the higher end consumer, but we don't really have minimums for our service. But typically, people using River tend to be on the higher end. My background is in I'm an engineer by training. My background is in computer science and cryptography, and I've been working in the Bitcoin space for quite a long time.
I see. So I'm curious as to where you got the idea for River Financial, and also like what is the main difference between River Financial and other crypto brokerages like Coinbase?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually got very interested in Bitcoin a long time ago, back in 2013, because I was very interested in monetary economics and monetary policy. And my dream actually in college was to figure out how to build a financial institution that gave people access to money that the government can't print more of. And I thought I would issue my own private currency backed by commodities or something like that. But when I discovered Bitcoin, I realized it solved the problem in a much more elegant way. And so basically ever since then, I've wanted to start a company like this. So I moved to Silicon Valley and then really focused on building my skills as an engineer and building my skills and then getting the connections that I would need over the years to get the capital to start a company. So why did we go? So what are we doing differently than everyone else? That's a great question. So if you look at the way that the space is developed here, most of the companies today are crypto exchanges. They kind of offer one service. You can buy and sell cryptocurrencies, and they work on adding as many assets as possible. We're actually taking a completely different approach. We're only doing Bitcoin, and instead of going broad across offering access to a lot of different assets, we're actually going to expand offering access to different financial services on top of Bitcoin. So today that's brokerage and custody. But down the road, there will be lending, there will be yield generating, potentially options trading, and other more specialized services. And the reason we're doing that is because when you build a product and you focus on one thing and doing it really well, you can do it better than anyone else. And because Bitcoin is still by far the biggest cryptocurrency, and it's a thing everyone really wants, we think that by focusing on that, we can actually build a better product than Coinbase and others. And we've been quite successful so far. I mean, we made a lot of money today already. That's why I'm busy. But yeah, no, things are going well.
I see. So what were the early struggles of River Financial, and what did you and your team do to overcome this obstacle or these obstacles?
So the two biggest struggles in starting a company like this are getting money and all of the regulatory and legal barriers to starting a financial services company. So, as you might know, the space we operate in is very regulated, right? Every state uses Bitcoin in a different way. The services that we perform are regulated differently depending on where we are. That's an extremely overwhelming burden to overcome for a small company with limited financing. Lawyers aren't cheap, right? And just getting the compliance policies and understanding of the law to a point where a regulator would take you seriously, and to the point where a bank would even allow you to open a bank account with them, because the banks are really the gatekeepers. And if you don't have all your act together and good answers to questions, the bank's not going to allow you to open an account. If you can't open an account in the bank, you can't make money. So that was by far the biggest challenge, was navigating the maze of regulations and laws, with limited funding. And it's certainly not something you can do. Like, a bank's not even going to give you an account if you don't have like $1 million to put it in a business like this. It's just not worth their time and effort. So you fund you with a good chunk of cash to start a company like this. So that was certainly the major barrier. From a technical perspective, I've been in the industry for such a long time at this point, relatively to the age of the industry, that I knew kind of exactly what needed to be built, more or less. I mean, yeah, in hindsight, we could have done things, improved things here or there, but I knew exactly what needed to be built, and we executed pretty quickly on that side of things.
I see.
Can you hear me?
So yes.
Okay.
So your experience in computer science and the cryptography, definitely helped you build this company together, right?
I mean, it was mostly my experience working in the industry, right, and actually building the applications and having done that. So the time I put in, as an engineer at different companies, both in Bitcoin and then just bigger tech companies, and in grad school, it gave me the chops to be able to just work on building the application day one, hiring a few engineers to build the team, and just know how to build a good architecture and just move quickly on product development. Now,
I see.
Now, for the capital side, actually, so my job before starting this company was actually at an investment fund. That was like the last thing I needed to be able to start a company. It was like access to capital. And so that investment fund, when I left, actually invested in my company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it. You don't have to do it that way, but certainly makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a few questions also. Want to know, like, so who you touched on who your primary market is, kind of like the larger investors currently, but who would you describe your primary market? Like, I imagine the older institutional type investors don't want to begin to have the conversation of crypto, and how do you like break that common barrier of like, you should allocate your, because it's even, I think, recommended now to keep it like 1 to 5% of your portfolio in crypto.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on who you ask. So the way we define our target market is mass affluent. So kind of people with disposable income. And it really depends on age range, right? Like you guys, students in college are actually also our target market. It's really people on a trajectory to, have disposable income in life, regardless of their age. So we have a lot of young people who are buying, $100 a month or something like that in Bitcoin. But then we have the older folks who are like, we just had a guy wire us $3 million 10 minutes ago. And, he's in his 50s, right? Our target market is what we call mass affluent to ultra high net worth individuals. Now, at the very, very top tier, that's where kind of we start to maybe be a good option for them, maybe not, depending on their needs. Like if Bill Gates wanted to buy Bitcoin, like Bill Gates has like hundreds of people working for him to manage his money. He's probably not our target market, right? But the guy with $100 million is.
Okay.
We also don't really focus on institutions. We mostly do. We're pretty focused on consumers, individuals.
Oh, no, I meant like institutional type people, as in like just old school people that just rather have like JP Morgan or like Goldman Sachs manage their money or something. Have you seen any changes during the pandemic? I know Bitcoin's kind of had a good run this year, and it seems like a great investment when the government's just printing money.
Exactly. That's driven a lot of our business. Especially for the older people, they see the government
Mhm.
printing all this money, they see the social unrest, and that's driving them towards Bitcoin, hands down.
That's good. Good. Yeah, I had a question if you guys did any altcoins or anything, but you already answered that. So I think it helps in the long run to just focus on Bitcoin because as we learned in the fintech class, it's basically the reserve currency for cryptos.
Yeah, exactly. And also focus when starting a company is absolutely key. If you think about it from just a technical systems perspective, just adding one more type of currency increases the complexity of our product, our user interface, our engineering systems, our accounting, our compliance, everything increases like 2 to 4 times in complexity, right? And so one of the wins that we have by just focusing on Bitcoin is giving people the absolute simplest experience possible. When a 50-year-old millionaire goes to Coinbase.com and they see all that crap listed there, it's really confusing for them, right? When they come to River.com, there's a simple path. There's no decision paralysis. There's no analysis paralysis. There's no like, oh, do I buy Bitcoin Cash or Ethereum or Ripple too, right? And as you guys have probably learned, when you're presenting a customer with too many choices, they tend to just not proceed, right? And so by offering the simplest flow possible, I think we've built the best product. And we have a mobile app coming too, so that's been a big request.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm definitely excited. How did you meet your co-founder?
He's my cousin.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. Great relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so that's great that you guys both kind of have an interest into crypto and got this going. Wonderful.
Yeah, so our great grandfather, he immigrated to the U.S. From like Lebanon, Syria, back long time ago, and then he had some businesses in Pittsburgh, and saved up gold. And then when Franklin Roosevelt was president, the government confiscated his gold under Executive Order 6102.
Wow.
And because that was actually a kind of thing that our family never really forgot. So that kind of also is, played a role in our kind of passion behind starting the company.
Yeah, especially something like Bitcoin where it can't be seized by just anyone.
Exactly. It's the only thing that's liquid
wonderful.
enough and portable enough to just move a ton of it around the world really easily.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I was curious about what's next for River Financial. What do you have planned for your company?
So we're raising a Series A investment round here.
Mm.
And so we'll be expanding the team over the next year, expanding the business across all of the 50 states. We need to get this thing called a BIT license in New York, which is a big regulatory expensive license to get. But once we're in New York, we can serve New York customers. And as you guys can guess, there's a lot of money in New York. Exactly. And so then the mobile app is a big step for us as well. We'll be launching that in the next month or two. And then we'll be focusing on some international expansion by the end of next year, probably in the Anglosphere, like UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Focusing on just perfecting the product over the coming year, probably offering some other financial services like an IRA account. So you can buy Bitcoin into an IRA or Roth IRA and not pay taxes when you trade it. So that's the roadmap for the next year here. Long term, our goal is to be a big financial institution, but we're taking it one step at a time.
I'm excited for you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, same. I hope I become one of your projected affluent investors.
Well, you guys, if you guys like, I can give you a sign up link, give you 0 fees for the next month here.
Sure, definitely.
Oh yeah.
I'll follow up with an email for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we learned in our class that we have together, we learned that eventually one day Bitcoin is going to take over as the worldwide currency, right?
Really? They teach you that in college?
Well, like
That's what-
Professor Feldman did in his class.
Interesting. That's
Yeah,
cool.
he told us that like one day, like because right now the dollar is the reserve for all currencies.
Yeah.
He argues that one day it's going to be Bitcoin, right? Once Africa gets Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So
Very interesting.
we're curious. First, if you feel the same way, and if you do, like how long do you think it'll take?
I do feel that way. I personally have probably 85% of my own wealth in Bitcoin. And this company too, I guess. So it's probably more than that. So I don't know. I don't know how long it will take. One of the things on my bucket list is to help facilitate the first purchase of Bitcoin by a central bank. And what I do know is that there's some very, very large, very important institutions buying Bitcoin right now. And that's going to, I think, continue to accelerate over the coming years here. And so timelines, like economics, monetary systems, they're too complex for any prediction to matter. And so really, I don't think about timeline. I think about what needs to get done and what needs to be built. And so that's really what I focus on.
I see. And so, another question I have is, last week PayPal came out and said that starting next year, they're going to release a platform where people can buy, sell, hold, and use crypto. What does that entail for the crypto industry?
I don't really know. I really there's talks that they're acquiring BitGo. It's unclear. Like there's always like talk of big companies doing some like crypto thing. Usually it's pretty just kind of mediocre because they don't really have opinion about it. So they just say, oh, we do crypto now, and no one really uses it. So we'll see. I mean, I really don't know how it's gonna manifest itself in their product. And so if it means that every online store can now accept Bitcoin as payments, that's interesting. But I think if you look at Bitcoin and what the phase it's in today, like, no one wants to spend their Bitcoin, right? People want to receive Bitcoin, but they don't want to spend it because there's something called Gresham's law, and Gresham's law states that good money pushes out bad, right? So if you have an economy and you have one really good currency and one really shitty currency, so let's say you have gold and then you have like copper coins or something, right? Everyone's always going to hold their gold and spend their copper coins. So the money in circulation will always be the bad money. People will hoard all the good money, the money whose value appreciates over time. So Bitcoin is kind of like good money, and dollars are kind of like bad money, right? Everyone wants to spend their dollars because they know, in a year, your dollar is going to be worth 2.5% less in its purchasing power. You don't want to spend your Bitcoin because it's probably going to be worth more. So so I don't really know how big this PayPal thing is going to be because, frankly, people don't want to spend their Bitcoin.
So what needs to happen in order for people to start spending their Bitcoin without worrying about purchase power and inflation?
Well, there's a theory about the phases that a money goes through. First, it's like a collectible. First, it's a collectible. Then it's a sort of speculative asset. Then it's right. Bitcoin's still in the phase. I think it's transitioning from speculative asset to a store of value. But a store of value doesn't mean it's used as money, right? Like I think it needs even more time before it becomes a medium of exchange. It needs to have stabilized and, to the point where it's not like tripling in a year for people to be comfortable spending it, right? It's got to kind of be, move towards a more steady trajectory. And I think that's going to take some time.
I see. And so
still tiny, right?
Right. I just have one last question.
Yeah.
And Sina, if you have any questions too, feel free. But Could you give any advice to college investors interested in crypto, or college students interested in cryptography?
So I mean, I think you mean interested in what, investing in it, interested in working in it, interested in
Both.
what way?
So then like one for like investing and one for working in it.
So my advice for investing: don't trade. If you're trading, just like keep the mindset that you're gambling and you're like playing slots in Vegas, and don't think you're smart. Nobody I know who's a trader has made more money than people who just bought Bitcoin and held it for 10 years. Like, I don't ever, like, you're not smarter than the guys at Goldman trading against you on these exchanges. So don't trade unless you just want some fun and you want to gamble in BitMEX or something. Just like buy Bitcoin and hold it. That'd be my advice. But technically I'm not allowed to give investment advice. So that's, take it with a grain of salt. And then for people who want to work in it, I'd say just learn as much as you can, and like really pay attention to like signal versus noise. There's a lot of like nonsense in the cryptocurrency space. Like dive into the history of it, dive into like really dive into the, like, what is money, right? Dive into that, like go through that journey, make your own, come to your own conclusions, do your own research, and then ask yourself whether or not Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general is a new kind of phase in the monetary history of the world. And if you come to the conclusion that it is, then that's a pretty big deal. And I think that merits some extra attention. And I think the big thing I'd give to like students who are interested in being an entrepreneur or starting a company is, build some hard skills, right? Kind of, you don't necessarily have to go become like a software engineer or something, but just kind of, it's a lot easier to start a company if you can just do a lot of the stuff yourself, right? And so that's also some advice I'd give.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's all good advice. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Sounds like you just got home. I don't know if Brian has any more questions. I don't want to.
Oh, I'm at the office now.
Anymore.
Yeah. So
at the office. Wonderful.
yeah, Alex. Alex, I don't think we have any more questions. So we just want to thank you again for your time and doing this for us. If you have any last words you want to say about River Financial or to the students that's going to be watching this, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I would say, so I think our mission is to bring Bitcoin to the world. I think Bitcoin is going to be a really big deal, and I feel really lucky to be able to wake up every morning and work on something I really, really deeply care about. That's not something a lot of people get to do. So, I kind of just encourage every student to try and find that thing, right? Find that thing that also, has the potential to hopefully make you a living, and you'll be very, very happy.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we're all set. Thank you, Alex.
Awesome, guys. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Thank you for your time again.
Have a good rest of your day.